Welcome to Rock Your Birth, the podcast that helps you step into motherhood feeling confident, calm, and empowered. I'm your host, Cassandra Hunneke. Welcome back to the show. I'm so excited to have a special guest with me today to talk about how to prepare for your postpartum mental health right now during pregnancy. This is such an important topic, one that is near and dear to my heart. So everyone, please give a warm welcome to Tara Gregorio, the powerhouse behind the Present Momma, an online course where health, wellness, and motherhood collide in a symphony of herbal remedies and holistic practices to heal postpartum anxiety, depression, and insomnia. Welcome, Tara. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. Tell us a little bit about yourself. How did you want to become an herbalist?
Well, an herbalist happened, many, many years ago. In 2009, I was getting ready for a wedding of 300 and working in New York City and became very, very sick. And this is a common theme in my life where the doctors had no answers for my weight loss and rashes on my body. So therefore, I turned to an Ayurvedic doctor and was hooked and started taking herbal medicine courses and classes. So that was in 2009.
Oh, wow. And you know what? I'm sure that your experience is one that just about every single woman has faced, where we have some mystery ailment, or maybe it's not even so much a mystery, and we meet with our doctors and they just say, we don't know. Or we get told, some other example of, you're depressed or you're too stressed or whatever it is, instead of actually getting treated sometimes. So explain to us a little bit, what is an herbalist? What does an herbalist do?
So an herbalist can have many different jobs, and I've explored a bunch of them, such as making herbal remedies would be one. But for me, as my background is in education and teaching others, that I fell into herbal medicine education. So now I'm teaching other moms how to use herbal remedies, and I can really cover menarche to menopause, but I've chosen the postpartum time because it was the most difficult for me so far. And it become a passion of mine because it is so hard to leave the house to get good answers, like I've noticed in the past, and to learn what's going on in your body. As a mom of twins, I noticed I couldn't leave the house. So my passion is with helping new moms.
That's amazing. And so needed. New moms need all the help and resources that we can get. So how does herbalism fit in with a new mom's postpartum care?
Yeah, well, many moms are, petrified to use herbal medicine in the postpartum time, but it's actually, it's most of it is quite safe when you know what you're doing and can really help soothe your nervous system. So there's, you topically, moms feel more comfortable using things topically at first. That's why essential oils, I think, were so popular for a long time, and they still are. But, like a herbal medicine bath would be a lovely way to calm your nervous system, calm the baby's nervous system.
Sounds
And
lovely.
just just a nice introduction to herbs. And then I would say like a cup of tea would be really nice too. My sister sent me milkmaid tea when I had the twins, and looking back, it was the stinging nettles that really was calming to my nervous system. But I just remember this big exhale after drinking it, and realizing how much I needed my herbs, where I was so busy with the twins, I wasn't drinking herbal teas for 3 weeks. So, that one cup of ready-made tea was like, okay, I could do this,
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's really amazing that you've decided to focus on postpartum mental health and help moms with this, and especially being somebody that has gone through this yourself. where there's so much going on in our bodies in postpartum. Just like when we first get pregnant, there are so many different hormone fluctuations that are impacting our mental health, and it's such a jarring life change, as happy
Yeah.
and wonderful as it is to bring your babies into the world. It's hard. It's so hard, and I feel like we don't talk about this enough. And I know myself, just as a postpartum doula, I don't think I've had a single postpartum client who didn't experience any difficulties with their mental health
Mhm.
after pregnancy.
Yeah.
And
I
whether
get.
that's a correlation of, women who maybe aren't struggling as much with their mental health don't really want postpartum doulas, I'm not sure. But with every single one, I've seen them experience anxiety and depression, and even some more severe cases of PMEDs, perinatal mental health, anxiety, and
Yeah.
disorders. So, um,
I think the tough part, if I could interject a little bit, is
yeah.
that what I've noticed is many women don't feel postpartum. So they think 6 weeks is it, and I'm not postpartum. So, that's one of the struggles I've had, is that, I have women from, 2 months to 8 years later that are joining and working with me, because it does carry through the hormones, the stress, really the stress level, right, of everything, that if we don't take care of it after birth, the nutrient deficiencies as well, it just carries through for years and years and years. So that's one of the struggles I've had, is that women may or may not consider themselves postpartum after a certain amount of time. But
Yes,
yeah, it's amazing. So you
absolutely.
have a great opportunity to to support them. I definitely wish I had a
Yes.
postpartum doula.
I wish I did too. That's why
Yeah.
when I was in postpartum, even though my mom stayed with me and my husband for like 2 weeks straight, I was still like, we could use another person in
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
It's a lot. It's a lot for everybody. It's such a big change.
Yeah.
But yeah, off of what you were saying, it's so important to keep nourishing yourself. And I think that a lot of times the message that we're getting from just medical society in general is like, once you have that 6 week appointment, right,
Yeah.
and you're cleared, um that what are you actually cleared for, right? It's like everyone's like, oh, you're cleared for sex and you're fine and you're back to normal. That is so not true.
Yeah.
It's just, it takes years. It can take like at least 2 years, even longer, for your hormones to
Yeah.
completely go back to normal, especially if there are any lingering imbalances that is going to affect you long term.
Yeah, I remember
And
my
I,
6 week appointment. I had diastasis recti, anxiety, insomnia, depression. And she's like, "You're fine." I'm like, "I am not not fine."
no,
So that's one of
exactly.
the questions moms ask, is who can help me? And I want to be that resource for those, particular symptoms you're experiencing. But
Yeah.
I also have on my website a resource sheet as well, for more severe anxiety and depression as well. But it is a question, like, who can help me, especially if I don't want to take medications.
Right, right. And a lot of the mainstream people that you usually go to right after birth, whether it's your OB or your midwife,
Yeah.
or even, I've seen when I had my baby going to the pediatric office, like they have you fill out that form of, the Edinburgh scale of what you're feeling, to see if you have anxiety or depression.
Oh, I didn't even
Um,
get that.
yeah, you know what? I don't even think the doctor actually looked at it. Like,
Yeah.
you just hand it off to the admin staff, and I don't think anybody actually looked at it. Nobody asked me how I was
Yeah.
either. So I think that happens to so many of us, and that even though we say 20% of women after birth experience some sort of depression or anxiety,
Yeah.
or mental illness, I think it's way more than that.
Yeah, I
honestly.
agree.
I think it's a lot of that is underreported. So I would like to definitely understand a little bit more about what's happening in our bodies after birth. So, what's going on with our hormones after we give birth, and how can herbs help balance those hormones and aid a little bit more in postpartum mental health?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I'm not a doctor for anyone listening.
Right.
But from my understanding, we have the feel good hormones, prolactin and oxytocin when we're breastfeeding. So we really have to segregate the moms a little bit into two different groups because when you are breastfeeding, you may have an easier time sleeping. You may not notice. I get moms that are breastfeeding that feel anxiety, but maybe not depression yet. So that's why I'm choosing all three topics, is because you actually move between all three for many, many years when you don't get to the root cause of all of this. So there's the breastfeeding mom that, may be doing okay. And she can choose herbs that are breastfeeding safe, which we'll dive into. And that's become a popular topic that I've been teaching, is what is safe while breastfeeding. And then and just for example, I had twins, and when I breastfed them, I remember sleeping amazing. Like for the first time in my life, just sleeping through the night. They'd wake me up, I'd go back to sleep. They'd wake me up. Never happened before. The day I stopped breastfeeding them, boom, I couldn't sleep that night. So, if you're not breastfeeding or when you start weaning, then cortisol starts rising, estrogen, progesterone rises, and then the feel good hormones start lowering. So that tends to be the time when moms start weaning that they reach out to me because they're noticing that hormonal shift. So when we think about herbs that can help, we're looking for botanicals that, if you're breastfeeding, that can calm your nervous system. We're not really looking for too much balancing of the hormones yet because there's so much going on. So it's really about calming the nervous system, which has really been a huge word that's come about lately, right? Nervous system regulation. And it applies to herbal medicine as well. And then when you stop breastfeeding, what I want you to notice is if it's the week before your menses returns, your period returns, if that's a tough week for you, that might show that you have low progesterone. And then we talk about potentially adding wild yam to your skin, not even like internally to your skin, to help raise your progesterone if your doctor approves, of course. But there's many things you could do, but what we're looking at mostly is lowering cortisol and or raising progesterone when we're talking about hormone health. And my moms like to do the tests because when you do like a cortisol test, it just shows you, okay, my cortisol is high. That's what's going on. To see that in your face is just, it proves what you're thinking is not crazy, which is not crazy because there are so many fluctuations. What I would love to see is a new mom do a Dutch hormone test, which is an out-of-pocket test, and to see where her hormones are at that time. That would be something I haven't recognized yet, haven't learned yet.
Okay. All right. And if moms want to go and get their cortisol tested and things like that, where can they go to do that? Is it usually
There's
just to their OB or their doctor?
possibly, but it tends to be these out-of-pocket tests. So in the United States, I'd go to Thorne, and then I have clients from other countries that they've used other out-of-pocket tests.
Okay.
But yeah, it tends to be not from your primary care, unfortunately.
Yeah. Yeah. I was curious and I wanted to ask if it's more of a third party option because I have experienced some of these symptoms myself as well and wanted to get my hormones tested. And one thing that I hear from so many women who do want to get testing done is that they go to like their OB and they're expressing these different symptoms. And a lot of times they're hearing, well, you're having your period, you're ovulating, so you don't need to get your hormones tested. But I always think it's such a good idea if you can afford to go to like a third party and get it tested out of pocket and you can afford that to go. It just gives you more information, and there may always be something happening that just because you're having your period or you're ovulating after birth doesn't mean that there's not something else going on in your body
Yeah.
that has to do with your hormones. So
Yeah, there's so many changes. Plus, Dr.
yeah.
Vivaram talks about the thyroid so much and how your thyroid can go from hyperthyroid. So you're running around, get everything done, you've lost all the baby weight, you've got so much energy, to hypothyroid, you've gained weight, you have no energy. So because the thyroid can fluctuate so much after birth, it's these tests that you have to do. It's almost easier if you have the resources to do them from home.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So, which herbs do you most recommend for postpartum anxiety and depression? And are there some that are contraindicated with like different mental health medications or with breastfeeding?
Yeah, so yeah, that's a big question.
Sorry. Okay, we'll take it step by step.
Step by step, yeah. So
Okay,
I
step by
don't
step.
forget.
Let's go with first. Which herbs do you most recommend
Yeah.
in your practice for postpartum anxiety or
Right.
depression?
So let's break it down, because typically you would experience depression first, although you may or may not recognize it. And then if you've ever seen the polyvagal ladder of emotions, you go through anxiety to heal. So I think once we go through anxiety, we get really scared, and that's when we're reaching out for medications, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with taking them. But I think if women knew more that there's this process of healing that happens, they might know what to look for. So it's, you're moving up this safety ladder, they call it. So depression first, the number one antidepressant is St. John's wort, which is great. It's something I would try with, if you had depression, I would try in a blended formula. It is a level 2, level 3 safety with breastfeeding. So some moms, that scares them and turns them away. But if you think of not using anything versus medications versus trying St. John's wort, you have to decide what's right for you and your family. But trying St. John's wort may be a better choice than nothing at all, or trying medications may be better than nothing at all, right? So we want to think about your mental health, and your mental health matters. So St. John's wort is definitely one I would look for in the blends. I also really like mimosa, it's called, or maybe I'm pronouncing it wrong.
Not the brunch, right? We're not the mimosas at brunch.
Not the alcohol, yeah. I'm trying to get the other name for you, but it's called Albizia gilbrusin. That's the name. Aviva Ram made this beautiful blend when in the postpartum time. It's no longer available, but it had ashwagandha and mimosa in it. And I believe that's what helped me break through postpartum depression. There was a clear before and after when I added adaptogens. Right. So within the Present Momma course in which I teach, there's adaptogens plus nervines for all of these symptoms. You need the combination of the two, where moms often just use one herb at a time. Okay. So the last one I would say for postpartum depression would be maybe, there's so many, maybe maca would help as well, which helps with fertility, anxiety, and depression. So we're looking for a blend of adaptogens plus nervines. So additionally, you want to add something like motherwort or milky oat tops to calm the nervous system. Because I call it a breakthrough that I had, like there was a clear, it felt like during depression, I was living outside of my family, outside of the world, looking in. And then after that sort of breakthrough, then there was anxiety and insomnia. So that at that point, you do want a little bit more nervines or calming adaptogens. So ashwagandha is very popular right now. It's considered a level 1 safe while breastfeeding, but it also is known to give you the strength of stallions. So I think the reason for that is because it helps you sleep. So you could take it at night, and that may help you sleep better during the night. And then some women say they can't take it during the day. It's too relaxing. But when I was in postpartum anxiety and depression, I was taking it during the day with no problems.
So it's up to the person and how it definitely makes them feel. But yeah, I just want to also point out for people, like adaptogens and ashwagandha are two like very popular things right now. I think it's hitting a little bit more mainstream. So these are just like different herbs that really help with your stress levels.
Yeah.
And they're in a bunch of different products now too.
It's everywhere.
But
And one of
yeah,
the questions you had was like, how safe are herbs while breastfeeding? And they're actually quite
yes.
safe, especially adaptogens. Adaptogens work on all the different organs in the body, help us prevent burnout, get us out of fight or flight. I was literally in fight or flight for 2+ years. I didn't say this in the intro, but my late husband and I opened 2 businesses and had twins in the same year. So
That's a
baby
lot.
A would wake me, it was a lot. Baby A would wake me up. I would take an hour and a half to go to sleep. Then baby B would wake me up. Then I'd have to go to work at 6 a.m. Like,
Ooh,
it just was too much. So I
yeah.
was living in this fight or flight for many, many years. And that's why I think the adaptogens helped, because they prevent burnout. And that's why they're so popular right now, is we're a go, go, go society. And,
Yes.
it's really helping people modulate that anxiety and stress level that we're experiencing.
Okay. Great.
So getting back
Yeah.
to your question, the only contraindicated botanical would potentially be St. John's wort if you are taking SSRIs, but not necessarily. So if you're working with a master herbalist, you might be able to wean off of that and add in St. John's wort, but you do want to work with someone closely with that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But otherwise, majority of them, the only other one would be rhodiola. Some moms get agitated by, and it's not good if you have bipolar disorder.
Okay.
So
Yes,
those,
that's really helpful to know, especially with the occurrence of sometimes postpartum bipolar disorder coming up for different moms. I've had clients who have experienced that. So that is good to know which ones are really not good for that.
yeah.
um, so you have so much knowledge, and I love your website. Honestly, I know you're going to share that in a couple of minutes, but I encourage everyone to go check it out. Because I just love how transparent and thorough all of your information is that you share, and also just how easy it is to understand, especially if you're new to herbs and you're not sure exactly what to expect. I just love all the information articles that you put out. So how can a new mom work with you, either in pregnancy to prepare for postpartum or afterward in postpartum? How can moms reach out to you, and how are they able to work with you?
Yeah, sure. So yeah, there's free information on YouTube at Tara Gregorio. And then I have free resources as well. But really, the best way is to potentially enter the master class, which is Remedies That Work, where we're looking at the root cause of postpartum anxiety and depression, which we haven't even touched on in this conversation, that there's definitely more that we've uncovered over the years. And then the Present Momma is an online course where I walk through diet, supplements, herbs, nervous system regulation, and healing your gut, because those are all the pieces of the puzzle that I found that really help women, break through depression and anxiety. And what's happening now is my moms are becoming pregnant again. So there is one video about safe prenatal herbs if your clients are pregnant right now, herbs that you can take during pregnancy to help calm your nervous system as well. So that might be helpful for them.
Oh, yeah, that would be excellent. I definitely will share the links to that and to all of your resources in our show notes and on YouTube. I think that's really amazing. I personally have a long history with depression and anxiety, and especially prenatally. I had pretty bad depression and anxiety as well, and it was hard to find resources
Yeah.
and information, just going to um, my midwives and going through them, and had to stay on medication throughout my whole pregnancy because they thought it was you know more beneficial to me than getting off of it during pregnancy. They thought that would be a little bit too dangerous. And even the last 3 months of my pregnancy, even though I had it like extreme nausea and vomiting, I went on medical leave mostly because of my mental health at that point. So I am someone who's very interested in finding out what more we can do and what we can take in pregnancy to also give us just better experiences and help us, because especially when we are in pregnancy and we're already doing those things to take care of our mental health, and I've seen women have smoother transitions into postpartum because we are already actively participating in our wellness. And taking care of ourselves.
Have changed. Yeah, one of the biggest things I uncovered over the past 2 years is methylfolate. And most of our prenatal vitamins have folic acid. Yes. And if you have the MTHFR gene, you actually want folate instead of folic acid. Yes. And I learned this the hard way when I had Lyme, heavy metal, mold toxicity about 2 years ago. But it taught me a lot about why I struggled postpartum as well, because there's this huge detoxification that happens in the postpartum time. And if we're not taking the right supplements, then maybe we're not supporting our system as much as we can. So that's one thing I would look into if someone is struggling with or has struggled with depression in the past and is petrified to get pregnant again, or has had that experience, is your doctor may not agree, but you can look into Dr. Ben Lynch's work and the book Dirty Genes, and he suggests it's the folic acid causing so many health problems compared to consuming folate or methylfolate during our pregnancy and postpartum. And if you've had a baby loss, I have to say, because I've had one myself, that it, I would suggest consuming folate. Many moms are getting pregnant faster when they consume folate over folic acid. So it's definitely one piece of the puzzle we talk about for healing the body.
Absolutely. And just as a pregnancy health coach myself, I always think that taking folate is just the better option. Yeah. Folic acid is more of a manufactured sort of reproduced sort of supplement, while folate is more sourced from the organic version, and your body is able to actually absorb a lot more of the nutrient that you need from the folate than from the folic acid. So it's very important. All right, so where can people find you? Where can they find your course? Where can they follow you?
Sure. So my website is taragregorio.com. And on Pinterest and YouTube, it's Tara J. Gregorio. And then on Facebook, The Present Momma. So the online course is The Present Momma. You can search that up as well.
Awesome. And I'll put all of those links below in our show notes and on YouTube. Tara, thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it. I really appreciate all this great information. And I hope that all of our mamas out there listening who are struggling, go reach out to Tara, check out her course, check out her social media. And of course, before you make any decisions about your health, do talk it over with your OB, your midwife, or your care provider, psychiatrist, whoever is overseeing your care, and check out anything that you can do to help your mental health, because you matter. Your baby just needs you to be okay. And that is the most important thing, is that you are okay and you feel like yourself, and you're not alone.
Absolutely.
Yes. Thank you so much, Tara. Really appreciate it. Thanks. Everything mentioned on Rock Your Birth podcast is not intended as medical advice, and you should always consult your doctor before making any decisions regarding your health and pregnancy.